Discover how easy it is to mask in Luminar Neo is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 10 minutes or less, starting now. Hello, everyone. All right, so again, this topic was created because on our Facebook group, so many people requested it. They wanted to learn different ways how to mask in Luminar Neo. So let's dive in. Now, I'm going to start with this. Actually, you know what? Let's start with this one. I want to kind of finish off at the end because you know how much I love puffins. All right, let's start with this image here. All right, so here's a nice image. It was already edited. What I want to do is I want to use the masking feature, and keep this in mind. Each tool that we have, I'll use Enhance AI, let's say, they all have the masking capability. So this is what's so unique about Luminar Neo. Not only can you do layer mask, you would also do, each tool has their own individual masking. Think of it as you're either painting on or painting off, either applying or not using the tool onto that image. So let's look at this. I'm just going to use Enhance AI. Look what I'm doing. I just want to increase the overall image itself. However, I only want the rocks to have this effect. So if I come to masking, let's use radial gradient. Notice where the red is? That means that the tool that we just applied is only going to be applied to that area. So everything else, watch, before and after. Here's before. Here's after. Notice how I'm able to pinpoint exactly where I want that to be. Now I can do the reverse of that. Let's say we want to take the exposure. I want to bring the exposure down like this, but I don't want the rocks to be dark. So I could go back and still do the same thing, radial gradient. But now the effect is only going to be applied to the rocks. Well, I don't want that. Instead, I'm going to invert it. So look right here, invert. Now look what just happened. Now that means that exposure, I'll go to an extreme. The exposure is going everywhere except the rocks. And since it's non-destructive, I can always go back and edit it. So look at the difference. Here's the original. And this is what we did just by applying. Let's look at edits. Remember, edits, by now you all should know we should name that history. So think of the history of your edits. We use two tools, Enhance AI, and look how we did the masking. Now, if I show the mask, I'm going to click on mask. If you don't see mask options here or actions, click on the little caret icon. I want to show it. So now it's going to show where that Enhance AI is being applied to. Notice if I hover over it. All right, so if I come in here, let's go back, brush. This is going to help me. And for some reason now it's not showing it. Normally it does show. If I just hover over it, it will show me where the mask is. Let's go to develop. Same thing. So if I apply a mask, I can show it. That's what it looks like. If I do apply, let's say, a brush, and I say, look, you know what? Now look how it's showing it. Now it's going to show it. If I use the X shortcut key, what that's going to do is toggle between paint and erase. Well, I want to erase this area here. There we go. So you can apply different masks. I mean, I can apply, let's say, the radial gradient mask and then fine tune it again with the brush mask. Keep in mind, when I do this, let's go right back to it. When I do this, it doesn't create different masks. It takes the mask that I already have right here, and it either applies more or less of the effect to it. So it's not like I can create just a radial mask and then go back and just do a brush. Once you apply the mask, you'll see this ruby red overlay. That's showing you where the effect is being applied. All right. So that was just the overall view of the masking. Now another option, edit. Well, this time I want to come down to portraits, and I'll do portrait bokeh. Let's just apply a generous amount. And now what this is doing for me is it's applying the portrait effect to the image. And look, there's the mask. It did a great job masking out the girls and made the background a portrait. Look, or the bokeh. Look at that. Well, what if I want to fine tune this? Well, remember, focus is going to bring everything into focus. Defocus means, let's say around the edges here, notice what it just did. When I went around the edges, it unfocused or it applied the blur to that area. Well, I don't want that. I want to go back to the focus, and I want this to be part of the mask. Now I can get a little more in detail with the restore, where I could restore some of this area here. And look what I'm doing. And it shows the masking. So this is how you could fine tune the mask by using focus, defocus, and a restore. So, and here's edge correction. This right here actually does this for me if you don't want to use the masking, and then you can just apply it to the effect. All right. So again, that was 2 ways. I showed you how each of the tools has its own masking, but in that case here, this particular has extra features because we're dealing with portrait. We're dealing with the bokeh effect. Now let's look at this here. I love this shot. If I come down to landscape and let's say twilight enhancer, or actually let's do relight. Nope, I'm so sorry. Magic light. That's it. Magic light. Now watch this. It's going to find the artificial light in the scene. So I just found the artificial light in the scene. However, if this were real, if I really had shot this at, let's say, f22, yeah, then I'd get those starbursts looking the way they are, and that looks awesome. But these starbursts down in here are not going to have the same strength as the starbursts in front of the camera. So this is where the masking comes in. I want to apply less of the effect to those areas. So look what I just did. I added the mask, or I added the starburst effect. But let's go to brush for a moment. I want to erase. Now I get to deal with the strength. I don't want the strength to be 100%, because if I did 100, watch this, it's going to remove it completely. Well, I don't want that. Let's go back to that effect. There we go. I want to take it down to, let's say, 30. You decide, 30% or whatever. I want to erase the effect, but I want to erase it down in here. So I still want the starburst effect, right? But what I don't want it to be the same strength is up here. And that's where the strength comes in. Now I could bump it up just a little bit, or actually a little bit less. And let's say get rid of these here. And let's say up on top here, I don't want the effect at all. So 100%, and I want to erase it. So look how I'm able to do that. Now, because this is a special tool, all right, and we have different masking options, I can adjust it. I can add, delete, or restore, all right? So for this right here, let's say I want to add just a little effect here and here. Look at that. So before, after. So I'm able to go back in and actually add. In fact, let me show you how I did that. So if I go to masking, brush, let's just erase this one again. And let's say the tool didn't find that image itself or that light source. Well, I can come in and say, all right, let's add to this. And now watch what it's going to do. Now it's going to add that light source back in. And then because I masked it, we'll go back to the masking, brush, paint it back in. and it's going to appear again. There it is. All right. So not only can you add the effect, if it doesn't find what you want, like the headlights of the car, just come in here under adjustments, add it. And then if you don't want it on certain areas, either delete or go back to the masking, add or edit to that area. All right. So that was a way how certain tools not only has the masking capabilities, like I showed you here, but they also have extras that I can add. Now, let's come into my puffin. All right. So, like I mentioned, each of the tools has masking. Well, so do the layers. Now, the layers also have masking capabilities. So if I were to come over here, and yes, I always joke, when in doubt, let Carly bail you out. I love Carly's old masters. I'm going to fill it, and actually I'm going to stretch it. And let's put it to 100%. Good. So that's the texture I like. Let's do an overlay. There we are. All right. I love what it's doing to the background. I really don't want it too much onto the puffin. So I could do a couple of things. I'm going to come into brush and I'm going to erase it 100% on the face. There we go. And let's say on the body, let's bring it down just a little bit less. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. And I get a little too click happy. So let's bring it back in there. There we have it. Look at this. Before, after, look how it's added that extra artistic look to this image. And look what we just did. So if I look at the masking, it's showing me where that mask, the layer mask, is being applied. I can still use the tools on this image here. So let's go back and let's say this area up in here, I want a little bit darker. Well, I'll come in, dial the whole image. Ooh, I like that. You know what? Yeah, I like where that is, but I'm going to come in with the masking. Let's use linear gradient, and we're going to click from the top and just apply that darkness to that area. Look at that. Okay, let's apply it again. So look how we can get really creative with this tool. So look what I did, but I want to apply on this one, let's say the radial again. Apply it just to the puffin. Look how it's bringing out, look how I'm shaping or guiding the light. So I use layer mask, and then I used a tool mask. So here's the original. And in a short time, look what we did. I know a lot of you love the comparison like this. Let's do that. All right. So let's explore some of the other ones. All right. Now, AI masking. Mask AI is going to be one of your best friends. So let's do this. Let's, again, I want to darken the whole image. I want the bottom here to be darker. Mask. Here's Mask AI. Now, with Mask AI, it's going to analyze the image for me. It's going to come back and show me, hey, there's a sky, there's floral, there's mountains. Ooh, there's natural ground. Well, that's what I want to be applied to this. Well, it found the natural ground that I wanted here. It also found it out there, which I don't want that. So brush, erase. Let's get rid of that at 100%. And let's leave it right about there. All right. So it did a great job at finding the ground for me. And again, look at this. It's non-destructive. So if I just wanted that area to apply the develop tool to it, I was able to use Mask AI. Now, what's great about Mask AI is it's using AI. So if I copy it and put it to the next one, it'll find it in the next scene. All right. So I have that set. Now, one of the other options, let's use, let's go back to the puffin. All right, and edit. I'm going to stay back with the develop tool. Let's take highlights. And let's bring highlights way down. But this time we're going to use luminosity. So it's going to look at this. Look how it's taking the luminosity of the image, and it's going to apply that to the area that I'm focusing here. So let's say I want this area here to be affected, and look what it did for me. It's applying the tool to the brightest values of the image itself. So before, after, I would get rid of this here, but you get the idea of why I wanted to go to an extreme, so you can see what the luminosity mask do. And then same thing with the color. In fact, I am going to just reboot that. There we go. Let's go color. Click on a color. I want this color right here. And there's the range. So there we are. Now the adjustment, and let's say we'll go to an extreme so you can see what I'm doing. So let's say I want that to have the darkness where I want it being bright, but notice it's selecting just that color. So I was able to select it. And again, there are the different masking options that we could pick from here. And as always, if you wonder what the masking tool is doing, right, from here, just click on the information icon, click on Learn More, and it'll take you to our user guide, and you can get a little bit more in depth with what each one of those are doing. All right, but look how easy it is to do masking inside Luminar Neo. In the old days, doing it in Photoshop, it was really, as an educator, it was really hard to teach people about masking. Here, just remember, each tool, just think of it as you could either apply the tool to the entire image, or if you use masking, you could be selective on where you want it to be applied. And then there's so many different masking options. Are the masking options as fine-tuned graphically like Photoshop? No, we're not a graphics program. We're a photography program. So remember that. So when you're doing it, if you're trying to change, let's say the hue or saturation of a person's shirt, let's say you're doing product photography, and you click on yellow, it's going to select the majority of the yellow. It's not going to be perfect. You'll have to go in with the brush and fine tune it. Understand the strengths and understands what it's not meant to do. So in that case there, that is a very high level graphics editing that you're doing when you're trying to change colors of the shirts, especially if it's not one continuous color. So the color mask does a really good job. You just click at it all around and do your best from there. All right. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different today. What I came up with was we looked at our Facebook group. So let me get you the social media group. So if you're not a member of our Skylum Facebook group, please consider joining. Click on that link, or I'm sorry, scan the QR code or go to that link right there and become a member. What I want to start doing, and I'm hoping I have enough time to do this, is I'm going to look through and curate the images because there's a lot of amazing images a lot of our members are posting, and I want to pick my 5 top favorite ones. Now, it doesn't mean those are the only ones. It was just the 5 that just caught my eye. And I'm going to demonstrate, and I'm going to show those to you. The goal of it is for you to be inspired, just like you've been inspiring me on some of the wildlife and landscape photos. And I'll just give a real quick critique. So that right there is for our social media. Now let me dive right in. And here is the first image. All right. So this one is from Bernie. Now I picked Bernie's photo because of the spiderweb, because it shows how patience and precision can turn something fragile into something powerful. Now, the way the light catches the tiny drops of water helps tell the story, proving that detail can be transformed, transform a simple subject into something extraordinary. So when you're out shooting, look for those. Look for them so you don't run into them, but look for those types of shots because they're there. And that spider web may have been a very, very small web that he just happened to stumble across. Would be really helpful if you are posting your photos and you want me to critique them, just tag me and say, hey, Vanelli, check this out. Please give a little backstory to the image. Think of it as your way of donating your knowledge to the community. All right. Now, the next one. Oh, let me get back to my, there we are. Ooh, this shot right here from Richard Clark. Rich has been doing a lot of these shots. Now, this photo of the bird by Richard caught my eye because of its quiet focus. The soft background helps tell the story, showing how isolated a subject can be, even bring more attention to the stillness and the presence. This was another one. Now, I selected this shot, and I apologize for butchering the name. I say Mal Gorzia. Okay, Mal. Let's put it there. The photo of the boat at sea because it speaks of resilience, pushing forward through uncertain waters. What really caught me was the birds above, which helped tell the story. It's adding movement and a sense that nature is always part of the journey. This was another one from Mile High Photographer. And by the way, Mile High, add your name to it. I know that's your company name, but I love this. This, I hate to say it, looked like a Thomas Kincaid drawing, but I loved what he did with the photo. I love how the image shows of the snowy cabin shows the glow and the warmth. The smoke rising from the chimney tells the story, showing how even the smallest detail can make the scene feel more alive and inviting. And this is one of my absolute favorites. And I'll tell you why. I love what Frank did here. I love how Frank took a photo and then he turned it into a piece of art. I could see this hanging up like on my wall behind the couch or into a doctor's office or someplace because the brush strokes themselves help tell the story by reminding us that texture and movement can carry as much weight as color. All right. So there you have it. And again, that's our social media on Facebook. If you want to join, please post your name or post Vanelli. Just tag me in it. Give a little backstory. And you don't have to go into a long detail if you don't have time, but maybe where you were when you took the photo, what inspired you. Who knows, that may inspire another photographer to go out looking for the same shots. Now, I have one more thing I want to show you. Here's an article I wrote and why photographers at every level can call KelbyOne home. Almost 20 years ago, actually, 1999 is where I joined Kelby. Well, back then it was called NAP, National Association of Photoshop Professionals. I was a struggling photographer trying to learn photography at the same time trying to learn my Photoshop skills. Photography and Photoshop, as you know, as a beginner, it's a nightmare to learn. That's why they have college courses for it. So one of the guys at Adobe Tech Support I used to call, and they would say, oh, for the love of God, this is a it does not work hotline, not a how-to. And so, well, how do I learn this stuff? They said there's a guy named Scott Kelby down in your area. Back then it was KW Production, Kelby and Workman. I took one of his classes and I loved his teaching style. Then he started doing Photoshop World with the NAP membership. That later transformed into KelbyOne because they were no longer teaching just Photoshop. They were teaching how to edit, not just with Photoshop, but with Luminar, with On1, with Topaz. So he encompassed a lot of it. And he also added photography and lighting to it. So that's why I joined that over 19. In fact, my membership number was 007. That's how early on I was when I joined the Kelby group with that. I wrote an article about it if you want to check it out. If you click on the link in the article, if you want to sign up, they have a free webinar they're doing on Thursday, which is tomorrow, They're doing a free webinar. He's going to take you for a tour of KelbyOne and all the benefits behind it. It's free. You're welcome to join in, and you can check that out. And there's that article. All right. Well, I hope that was very helpful for you. And I am going to start adding more of these things at the end of coffee break. I usually give it to just the people that are here on Zoom. So, and if you do want to join us, Zoom at the end of every episode, we do the Ask Me Anything segment, where you can ask questions about today's topic or anything photography related. So if you're here, please stick around. We'll talk about that. For everyone else, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.